Before we begin the story, we kindly invite you to take a moment to like the video, share it to spread the love, and subscribe to Heroes for Animals so you won't miss the next heartwarming stories. Thank you for being with us. There are 911 calls that rattle you, and then there are the ones that never come in, but still break you. That morning, I was halfway through my second cup of bitter precinct coffee when I heard Officer Dale yell from the front lobby, "Sarge, there's a dog. He's down." Stood up fast enough to knock over my chair. Dale wasn't the panicky type. By the time I reached the glass doors of Precinct 12, I froze. There, slumped against the concrete steps, was a German shepherd, dusty, panting, ribs like coat hangers beneath his fur. One of his front legs was curled unnaturally under him, like it had simply given out mid-step. But it wasn't the leg that made my throat tighten. It was his eyes. They weren't wide with fear. They weren't glazed with pain. They were just tired. Old soul tired. Like he'd walked the last mile of a journey only he understood, and this was where he decided it could end. We rushed. Outside. No sirens, no yelling. Just a quiet kind of urgency, like when you find a kid asleep in the back seat of a stolen car. Gently, slowly, we lowered ourselves to the dog's level. His breathing was shallow but steady. Then Dale noticed it first. A faded red collar frayed near the buckle, barely holding on to a small battered tag. It didn't look like a license plate or microchip ID. It looked homemade. Hand-etched with something sharp. Dale flipped it over and squinted. He read it aloud. "If you're reading this, I made it." We all just froze. That phrase, so simple, so human, it felt like a gut punch wrapped in hope, like a soldier crawling across enemy lines clutching one final message. "Jesus," I muttered, brushing dirt off his muzzle. "He came here on purpose." We carried him inside. No hesitation, no protocol. I grabbed an old fleece blanket from the break room while Dale brought in a bowl of water. The German shepherd sniffed it, licked once, then again, slow and deliberate, like someone who knew every drop might count. The holding cell became a triage room. Dispatch called animal services, but I told them we'd handle it for now. "Officer." Clark shredded some leftover rotisserie chicken from his lunch and laid it on a paper towel. The dog didn't devour it. He ate with dignity, carefully, grateful, like he knew making a mess might mean losing his place. Then he curled up beside the desk and sighed. A long, full-body exhale that sounded less like pain, more like relief. As if to say, "I'm home." Or close enough. No one said it, but I knew we were all thinking the same thing. Who was he trying to reach? Why here? Why now? We tried scanning him for a chip. Nothing. No ID, no tags from any official source. Just that collar, that hand scratched. Message, that look in his eyes. We started calling him Tag because, frankly, it felt like that tiny piece of metal had spoken before he could. By the end of the shift, Tag had become a fixture. He didn't bark, didn't whine, just watched us, each of us, as if studying our rhythms, our roles. He especially liked the window in the briefing room. From there, he could see the comings and goings of every patrol car, every coffee run, every citizen complaint. It was like he'd served before. Clark said, "You think he's ex-K9? I nodded. Maybe. Or maybe he belonged to one. That night, I came back to the station. I wasn't even on call, I just couldn't sleep. Found myself sitting on the cold tile next to Tag, watching his chest rise and fall under a borrowed blanket. Someone had taped a sticky note to the desk above his head. "Do not disturb. He's earned it. I didn't pet him." Just sat there. He opened one eye, gave a small huff through his nose, and let it close again. "You're safe now," I whispered. By the next morning, things had shifted. Tag still wasn't exactly thriving, but there was awareness in his gaze. Now, recognition. He looked up when Dale entered with a banana muffin. He tilted his ears toward the printer noise like it mattered. He even tried to stand, only to collapse softly back into his bed, but not in defeat. Just pacing himself. Word spread around the precinct fast. Even the captain, known for being strict about no animals on sight, walked in with a McGriddle and sat half on the floor beside Tag. Didn't say a word, just nodded and left. By the third day, Clark had built Tag a little bed using 2 old vests and a storage crate. We lined it with clean towels and slid it under the bulletin board near the front desk. That way, Tag could keep watch, like he was still on duty. He was never in the way. That's the thing. He didn't beg, didn't demand attention. He simply became a rhythm in the precinct, something that just belonged. When the phone rang, his ears perked. When an officer left for patrol, his eyes followed. And when someone came back after a rough call, he moved closer, as if to say, I see you, and I know. The week Tag arrived, we had a drive-by shooting in the West End. 3 officers went on scene. 1 came back rattled. Real rattled. I saw him sitting in the hallway, hands trembling just a bit, still gripping the radio. Tag patted over, laid his head on the officer's boot. Just sat there, didn't move for 15 minutes. When the officer finally stood up, he looked down and muttered, "Thanks, Captain." He wasn't joking. From that day on, most of us stopped calling him Tag. We called him Captain Tag, and he seemed to like that. It was a Wednesday when the envelope came. No name, no return address. Just a plain, slightly yellowed envelope slipped into our daily mail pile with Precinct 12 typed neatly on the front. Normally, junk mail goes straight to the shredder. But this one felt indifferent, like it had weight that wasn't just paper. Clark found it first. He tore the flap carefully and pulled out a single photograph. We all gathered around the bullpen table like kids around a campfire. In the photo, a young German Shepherd puppy, bright-eyed and already proud, sat beside a small boy covered in mud. They were both smiling, the boy missing a front tooth. You could almost hear their laughter through the still image. Scribbled in the corner in faint blue ink were 4 words. 1999, Fresno, my partner. It felt like someone had just placed the first puzzle piece on the table. Fresno? Dale asked, furrowing his brow. That's, what, 400 or 500 miles? More like 300, I said. But that's not the point. The point was, someone wanted us to see this. Someone knew Tag. Someone was telling us he wasn't always alone. We pinned the photo right above his bed next to the dispatch board. When Tag saw it, his ears perked. He sniffed the air. Then he curled into a tighter ball and rested his chin on his paw. A soft grunt escaped his throat. Like recognition. Or maybe grief. Or both. Over the next few days, we made copies of the photo. Put them up in the break room, near the lockers. Even tacked one near the coffee machine with a sticky note that read, "Have you seen this dog before?" And then came the breakthrough. Our station secretary, Marie, who, let's be honest, knows more about this town than our entire intel unit, came rushing into the bullpen waving a sticky note. "You're not going to believe this," she said, breathless. She'd called around, looked into housing registries, found a name, Ed Taylor, retired K-9 handler, former officer from Fresno PD. Had moved to our town 2 years ago after his wife passed away. Kept to himself. Quiet. A name that rang no bells, until now. I called the number Marie gave me. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then a slow, wheezing voice answered. Taylor residence. "Hi, sir. My name's Sergeant Mike Harper, Precinct 12. I think we may have found your dog." There was silence. Long enough I thought the call had dropped. Then the voice cracked. You found him?" Ed Taylor. Showed up that same afternoon. He was in his 70s, maybe 80, wiry frame hidden under a worn army jacket, ball cap pulled low. He walked with a limp that told stories he probably never spoke about. When he stepped into the station, we didn't need to point the way. Tag was already up, slow, unsteady, but up. eyes locked on the door like he knew exactly who was coming. Ed froze when he saw him. "Oh my God," he whispered. "You're still alive." Tag limped forward, tail wagging slow, heavy, but sure. When Ed knelt, wincing from the pain, Tag pressed his head into the old man's chest and just stayed there. No barking, no jumping, just stillness and sobbing. We gave them space. No one needed to film it. No one needed to post it. Some things belong to the moment, not the internet. Later, Ed sat at our break room table, nursing a cup of tea like it was the only thing holding him together. His name was Rex, Ed said, but my wife always called him Tag, because he never left my side, always tagging along. That hit us hard. I lost him during the move, Ed continued, wiping his eyes with a trembling hand. He got spooked, took off. I searched for weeks. Flyers, calls to shelters, everything. But nothing. Eventually, I figured. He paused. I figured he found a quiet place to lay down. Never thought it'd be a police station. Maybe, I said gently. He was just trying to find the closest thing left to home. Ed nodded, eyes distant. We used to visit precincts. I was K9 for almost 40 years. He knew the smell of officers, knew the rhythm of the radios. Maybe he just followed the sound of the badge. We all knew what question was coming. Ed looked up, tear-streaked and sincere. "I'd love to take him home," he said softly. "But I need to be honest with you. I've got stage 4 lung cancer. My doctors..." He swallowed. "They said I don't have long. I just wanted to see him again." We sat in silence. Then Clark said it, plain and true. "Then he stays here, as long as he needs. This is his home now, too." Ed looked like we'd just taken 40 pounds off his back. He came by every few days after that, sometimes strong enough to walk in on his own, sometimes dropped off by a neighbor. When he couldn't make it, he mailed in cards, handwritten notes, photos of their younger days. Tag would sniff the envelopes and nuzzle into them like they were still warm. The precinct changed, not in big, flashy ways, but in the quiet ones. Dispatchers started leaving dog biscuits beside their keyboards. Officers took turns checking the water bowl. Someone even embroidered Captain Tag on a spare K9 vest and left it by his bed. Tag didn't need to be on patrol anymore. He was the calm between chaos. One rookie, fresh out of the academy, wrote on the whiteboard, "Captain Tag has better instincts than most of us." Nobody erased it. One morning, just after sunrise, a delivery box showed up at the front desk. Inside was a brand new red and yellow service vest with the words, "Retired K9, Honorary Officer." No note, no sender. Clark held it up. He earned this, every stitch. We clipped it on. Tag stood a little taller that day. By the end of that month, Captain Tag had a schedule. Every morning, someone brought him a slice of toast from the diner down the block. Usually Dale, sometimes Clark, if Dale got stuck on traffic duty. Around 10 a.m., Tag would hobble to the lobby window and sit just behind the front desk like he was overseeing check-ins. He didn't bark. He didn't need to. People just behaved better when he was watching. And somewhere along the way, something strange started happening. People began showing up just to see him. At first it was local. A couple of retired officers. A school teacher from 2 neighborhoods over who swore she remembered Tag visiting a school safety fair years ago. Then came a woman from the next county, tears in her eyes and a newspaper clipping in hand. It was a 10-year-old article, yellowed with time, showing a younger Ed Taylor kneeling beside Tag at a community event. The caption read, "K9 Hero Alerts. Family to gas leak. Saves 3. "That was us," the woman whispered, holding the article like it might break. "I was the mom in that house. My little girl's safe because of this dog." She didn't stay long, just knelt down, stroked Tag's fur gently, and whispered something we couldn't hear. Then she left. That story unlocked something. By the next week we had people driving in from other towns, other states. Tag's photo started making the rounds online. Someone had taken a candid shot of him dozing in the lobby beneath the flag and posted it with the caption, "This dog showed up at a police station and never left. His story will break you and fix you in the same breath." The post went viral. And Tag? He stayed the same. Still curled up by the heater. Still wagging his tail whenever someone walked through the door, whether they came to file a noise complaint or just to sit in the silence with him. It was around that time that Spencer started filming. Spencer was our newest officer. Young, camera-shy, barely out of the academy. But he had this eye for moments most people miss, the in-betweens. One afternoon, without telling anyone, he set up his phone in the corner of the common room and started a series he titled, Quiet Watch, 1 Minute with Captain Tag. The first clip was just Tag lying in the sunbeam on the tile floor, eyes half shut, breathing slow. The next showed a child placing a crayon drawing next to his bed. Another showed Dale reading incident reports out loud while Tag nodded off beside his boots. No music, no narration, just presence. Within a week, the clips had over 100,000 views, and the comments started pouring in. "My husband's in hospice. We watch these together every night. I haven't smiled in days and until I watch this. I used to be a K9 handler, lost my partner 2 years ago. This brought him back for a minute. Tag, you're healing strangers you'll never even meet." We printed those comments, taped them to a bulletin board in the hallway. We called it the Wall of Stillness. And then came the letters. They started arriving in bundles, handwritten notes from kids, veterans, nurses, grieving mothers. We kept them in a binder on the front desk marked Mail for Captain Tag. One from Kentucky read, "Dear Tag, my son is scared of sirens. But he saw your picture and said, 'That dog makes them safe. Thank you.'" Another from Arizona said, "My brother was an officer. He passed last year. I thought I was done crying. Then I saw your story and realized some grief is just love, with no place to go. Thank you for giving it somewhere." We read them out loud sometimes after evening roll call, just one or two, soft voices over the hum of vending machines and flickering overhead lights. And Tag, he listened. Always. One Sunday afternoon, a boy showed up with his father. The kid was maybe 10. Brown hair, oversized hoodie, clinging to a photo. His dad said, "He's been quiet since our family dog passed, but he wanted to meet yours." The boy didn't say much, just knelt beside Tag's bed, placed the photo down, an image of their golden retriever wearing a Santa hat, and whispered, "He'd have liked you." Tag lifted his head, nudged the boy's sleeve gently. That was enough. The boy smiled for the first time in weeks, his dad later told us. We started calling it the Tag effect. It wasn't flashy. It didn't come with sirens or fireworks or headlines. It came in whispers and pauses, in the way people started hugging a little longer, in the way we stopped to ask, "You okay?" and actually waited for the answer. Even the mayor noticed. She visited quietly one morning, no press, no cameras. Just showed up with a warm coffee and a red bandana embroidered with the words, "Watchdog, Peacemaker, Friend." She tied it gently, around Tag's neck, and knelt beside him. "You've done more for this town than most people ever will," she said. We believed her. One chilly afternoon, Clark came back from a call and found a small, hand-carved wooden box sitting on Tag's bed. No note. Inside were dozens of tiny figurines, officers, firefighters, EMTs, and each one had a little golden dog standing beside them. We placed the box on the front mantel, next to the old precinct radio and the faded photos of fallen officers. It fit there, belonged there. And then one morning, something happened that none of us expected. A teenager came in, maybe 16, hoodie, pulled tight, eyes red. He didn't talk to anyone, just sat in the lobby near Tag. We kept an eye on him, but no one interrupted. After an hour, he finally spoke, just 3 words. "I didn't do it." He pulled something from his pocket. "Oh, court summons. Accused of shoplifting, said he was scared, said no one believed him, said he didn't know where else to go." "Why here?" I asked gently. He looked down at Tag, then back at me. "Because this dog, This dog makes you tell the truth. We helped him find a lawyer that day. And later, the charges were dropped. Wrong kid. Wrong time. But somehow he'd come here. To tag. Not to us. Not to the badge. To the dog who listened without judgment. That night, Spencer added another clip to the series. Just Tag, lying beside a stack of letters, his eyes flicking toward the door every time someone passed. The caption read, "He doesn't chase the bad guys. He just helps us remember who we are." Captain Tag started sleeping more. At first it was subtle, napping longer in the mornings, needing help up the steps into the side courtyard, skipping his usual patrol to the vending machine near dispatch. No one panicked. We just adjusted. We moved his bed closer to the heater, swapped the thin blanket for a thicker one of those fleece throws with little paw prints on it, donated anonymously in a box marked, "For the Captain." Dale started bringing in soft-boiled eggs from home. Spencer found a portable fan to keep the air just right. Tag didn't complain. He never did. His tail still thumped when someone passed. He still tried to lift his head when we came in from late-night calls, even if it took more effort than it used to. But we knew. And that changed how we moved through the building. There was this new rhythm to everything. Officers slowed down when walking past him. Conversations in the bullpen got a little softer. The usual bickering over whose coffee mug was whose became more of a shared joke than a petty turf war. It wasn't just respect, it was presence, being in the moment, because Tag made you notice the moment. One night around 2 a.m., I came back from a domestic dispute call that went sideways. Nobody got hurt, but it was the kind of situation that sticks to you, makes you feel like you're carrying something heavy you can't name. I didn't want to talk, didn't want advice. Tag was curled in his bed, eyes half closed. I sat down on the floor beside him. Didn't say a word. He leaned into me. That was it, and it was enough. Spencer started a new series. The Captains. Halog. Every officer wrote a single line about their day. Not official case stuff, just moments, observations, thoughts that didn't fit in a report but still mattered. Tag nudged my hand when I got back from a call. Didn't know I needed that until he did it. Watched a kid leave him a cookie and whisper, "Please don't die." My heart broke a little. The captain farted so loud during briefing we thought a tire blew. Clark cried today. Didn't explain why. Tag just laid his head on his knee. I walked in tired and angry. Left smiling because he wagged at me like I mattered. We kept a log on the same table where we'd once held suspect interviews. Now it held memory, kindness, proof that one old dog could hold a whole precinct together with nothing more than presence. One Tuesday, Dr. Ruthie, our go-to vet, came by for a quiet check-in. Tag greeted her like an old friend, licking her hand and settling beside her with a groan. She ran the tests gently, like someone touching a beloved book that's almost finished. Later, she pulled me aside. "He's not in pain," she said, "but he's tired. You'll want to make the next couple months count." I nodded. We already were. Each of us started taking him somewhere meaningful, nothing dramatic. Tag wasn't up for hikes or long drives, but small trips. Dale took him to the apple orchard on the outskirts of town just to sit under the trees. Clark let him nap on the bench during softball practice behind the high school. I took him to the old K-9 memorial at City Hall. He sniffed, the names etched in stone like he recognized some of them. Spencer started calling it Captain's Tour. We didn't say goodbye. We just kept showing up. Then came the Sunday that changed everything. A girl, maybe 7, maybe 8, walked in with her grandmother. They didn't say much, just stood quietly in the lobby while the girl knelt beside Tag and placed something beside him, a small red badge made of felt. For being the bravest. She hugged him, eyes closed tight like a wish, then whispered, "I used to be scared of police, but you're different." After they left, we pinned the felt badge above his bed. The next morning, we found 5 more letters from kids. Crayon drawings, stick figure officers, fire trucks, tag wearing a crown, one note read, "Thank you for being soft. Police stuff is loud, but you're soft." We cried, all of us, even the captain. That week, we decided to do something we hadn't done in a long time. We held a community day, just a simple gathering. No speeches, no politics, just a BBQ in the back lot, a few folding tables, and a sign that said, "Tags Day. Come say hi to the captain." We expected a dozen people. We got over 100. Families came with baked goods, teachers brought cards, elderly veterans came in uniform, and the kids, they swarmed him like he was magic. He let them pet him, cuddle him, even drape a plastic fire hat on his head. He didn't move much, but his tail never stopped. That night, Spencer filmed one more clip, Tag laying by the fire pit, stars above, soft music playing from someone's Bluetooth speaker. The caption was simple: the kind of hero who doesn't need to chase anything. He already caught our hearts. The video went viral again. This time, the comments weren't just from strangers. They were from firefighters, ER nurses, former soldiers, people who had lived through things they didn't talk about in public. They all said the same thing: "This dog reminds me how to feel again." It's funny, isn't it? All the things we chase in this job: justice, control, adrenaline, the next win. And yet here was this old, quiet soul doing more healing just by staying still, by being there. One evening, we got a call from a nearby shelter. Inspired by the captain, they were starting a new program, Companions for the Watch, pairing senior dogs with retired first responders. A soft landing for both. They asked if they could name the pilot program after him. We said yes. Of course we did. Tag would never know the full ripple of what he'd done. He didn't care. He was still watching the door, still meeting us after hard shifts, still thumping his tail whenever he heard the sound of keys or laughter or the clink of a coffee mug. He didn't chase sirens anymore. He was the siren we all answered. By the time October rolled in, you could feel the season changing, not just in the air but in the way we moved around the station. Leaves scattered across the back lot like confetti after a parade. Coffee got stronger, conversations got shorter, and Tag started sleeping through the alarms. No one said anything out loud, but we all noticed. We noticed how his head stayed down a little longer in the mornings, how his legs took more time to get under him, how he didn't follow the sound of boots anymore, just watched, eyes flicking back and forth like he was remembering every step. We adjusted. Again, his bed got an extra cushion. Clark brought in one of those orthopedic memory foam pads from his own couch. Dale rigged a little heater that stayed on a low hum near Tag's corner. Spencer moved the camera a little closer, not for dramatic footage, just to catch the rise and fall of his chest more clearly, as if to reassure himself. And still Tag wagged, not a full tail-thrashing happy dog wag, but slow, deliberate, the kind of tail movement that says, "I see you, I'm still here, don't worry." On a quiet Thursday morning, a box arrived. No postage, no label. Inside was a folded American flag, a photo frame wrapped in cloth, and a note written in tight, shaky script. My husband was a firefighter. He passed away 2 years ago, but in his last months he always said if he ever came back he hoped it would be as a dog like Tag, still loyal, still serving. Thank you for keeping his dream alive. There was a photo of a man in uniform, standing in front of a fire truck, holding a small puppy in one arm and his helmet in the other. We placed the frame on the shelf next to Tag's logbooks and the wooden box of figurines, and we sat with it for a while. Quiet. Still. Because some tributes don't need speeches. Halloween came and went like a whisper. No big parties. Just a few pumpkins carved by the rookie squad and a bowl of candy on the front desk. Someone left. A miniature firefighter costume, tiny jacket, little boots and all, folded neatly beside Tag's bed. We didn't put it on him. That would have felt like a joke he was too tired to laugh at. But we did lay the jacket beside him, and Spencer took a photo. He captioned it, "Still on duty." Letters continued to flood in, so many that the post office gave us a dedicated bin with a sign hand-painted by a local kindergartner, mail for Captain Tag. Inside were drawings, poems, stories. People from all over the country writing to a dog they'd never met like he was their last piece of something good. One woman wrote from a hospital bed in Michigan, "Dear Tag, I lost my hair to chemo this month, but I watch your videos every night. You make me feel brave in the quiet." Another was from a third grader in Kansas. "When I get scared at night, I say, Captain Tag is watching me, and then I sleep." Clark started taping them to the walls. Spencer printed some on cardstock and created a gallery along the hallway. The precinct looked more like a sanctuary than a police station, and honestly, that felt right. The mayor stopped by again in mid-November, this time with the town historian and a camera crew, not for a news story, for the official archive. "We're documenting the town's most meaningful figures," she said, "and Tag's story belongs to all of us now." She interviewed half the squad, took photos beside the mural Spencer had helped commission, a painting of Tag surrounded by officers and civilians alike, under a sky brushed with pink and gold. At the top, in simple letters, "Some fires are quiet. Some heroes are too." Tag blinked slowly when he saw it. We all swear he smiled. Thanksgiving came heavy and full of memory. We didn't cook much, just warmed up casseroles dropped off by local families and shared turkey sandwiches from Clark's mom. Every officer took a silent turn sitting next to Tag during the meal, no assigned order. It just happened. And after dessert, Brian stood up, cleared his throat, and read from one of the newest letters. "Dear Tag, I lost my home this year, but when I watched you waiting by the door for your officers to return, I remembered what home really means. Thank you." We didn't say a word. We didn't have to. Tag let out one of those deep, full-body sighs, the kind that sounds like it came from somewhere older than time. By December, the cold was settling into everything. Floors, pipes, bones. We kept Tag bundled tight. Someone, no one remembers who, strung up a soft line of fairy lights above his bed. It made his fur glow at night like gold. He stopped getting up altogether. Didn't even lift his head when the front door opened anymore. But his eyes, they still followed. He watched every movement, every officer walking in, every cup of coffee poured, every shift change logged on the whiteboard. He watched it all like he was storing it somewhere safe, like he knew his time as watcher was almost over. One night, after a particularly hard shift, car accident, teenager, nothing we could have done, Spencer sat beside Tag's bed and said, "You know, I used to think being a cop meant solving everything, fixing people, stopping the bad guys." Tag blinked. "But now I think maybe it's also just about being the one who stays, the one who shows up. Like you do." He leaned his head against Tag's blanket. "You make that feel enough." We didn't mark the days like a countdown. We weren't waiting for something to end. We were living in the in-between. Every breath Tag took felt like a sunrise. Every small twitch of his tail, a victory lap. Visitors still came, but more gently. Now, they knelt slower, spoke softer. Some didn't speak at all. They just sat, beside the dog who had taught a whole town to stop and listen to the silence. And somehow, even the silence felt full. On December 21st, the first snow fell. It blanketed the precinct roof like a blessing. Soft, heavy, final. That morning, Tag didn't open his eyes, but his chest rose once, then again, then settled. We sat around him in a loose circle. No one cried, not right then, we just breathed. With him. For him. Dale lit a candle. Clark whispered a prayer. Brian placed the felt badge, the one the little girl had made, gently on his side. "Captain," he said, "we got it from here." We didn't say the words out loud. We didn't have to. When Tag's chest stopped rising, time didn't collapse. It folded. Softly, carefully, like a flag. At a soldier's funeral, he left the way he lived, without fanfare. No last whimper, no dramatic gasp. Just one final exhale so calm it felt like a sigh. And then, stillness. Not emptiness. Stillness. It was early. The kind of cold winter morning where the coffee barely stays hot, and the sky looks like it's still, deciding whether to snow again. Clark sat beside Tag's bed, one hand on his shoulder. Dale stood by the window, his breath fogging the glass, staring out at nothing in particular. Brian wiped his eyes with the sleeve of his uniform and cleared his throat, but didn't speak. And Spencer? He was already filming. Not for a video. Not this time. Just to remember the sound of the room, the warmth, the silence. News didn't spread like wildfire. It spread the way grief does in small towns, with quiet nods, long hugs, and casseroles left on doorsteps. By noon, people started arriving. Some brought candles. Some brought dog biscuits in cellophane bags. Some came empty-handed, but all of them carried stories. About the first time they met Tag. About how he looked them in the eyes and somehow made them feel like they mattered. About how they drove, hours just to sit next to him and say nothing at all. Someone laid a blanket of sunflowers around his bed. Someone else brought a folded paper lantern with the words, "For the one who stayed." That afternoon, we carried Tag to the memorial garden, behind the station. The same place where the mural was painted, the one where he lay under a lavender sky surrounded by his people. He was buried beneath a newly planted oak tree. No eulogy, no bugle, just the sound of boots on frozen earth and hearts that knew exactly what they were losing. The mayor placed a plaque at the base of the tree. Captain Tag, Honorary Officer, Watchdog, Healer. You didn't chase sirens. You answered them. We left his bed exactly where it had always been, in the common room, by the heater, beneath the string of warm lights, not as a shrine but as a reminder. Because grief isn't just about what we miss, it's about what we continue. Spencer started a new log, Volume 4, What Tag Taught Us. Every officer, every visitor, every civilian who came through wrote one sentence, one memory, one change. He inspired. I yell less now. I take longer walks and talk to strangers at the park. I finally apologize to my brother. I listen before I speak. We thought the flow would stop after a week, but it didn't. If anything, it grew, because somehow Tag wasn't gone, he was just everywhere. The precinct felt different, but not emptier, just more intentional. Officers lingered a little longer in the hallway before heading out on shift. Coffee was brewed before the night crew even walked in, just like Dale used to do for Tag. People talked more about their families, their fears, their hard calls. One rookie, fresh from the academy, sat beside the empty bed one night and said, "I never met him, but I feel like I know him." Clark answered, "Then you met him. That's how he worked." Letters didn't stop. Videos still poured in. A station in Colorado named their therapy dog Captain Jr. in Tag's honor. A rescue shelter in Maine started a Tag's Tales reading program, where kids read aloud to senior dogs waiting for homes. Even the local news did a follow-up. The dog who watched over a town, but it wasn't the headlines that stuck. It more was the little things. A woman who left her abusive husband and said Tag gave her the courage. A teen who skipped school one less time after watching 1 Minute with Tag. A paramedic who wrote, "Your videos kept me from quitting." On New Year's Eve, we gathered at the station, same as always. No fireworks, no noisemakers, just soup, grilled cheese, and a photo of Tag next to the fireplace. Spencer pressed play on the final tribute video, clips of Tag through the seasons. Him blinking up at the snowfall, him watching patrol cars roll in, him pressing his head into someone's hand like a benediction. The last shot, just his eyes, clear, steady, kind. When the screen went black, no one moved. Clark finally whispered. He stayed until we could stand without him. In the weeks that followed, The station settled into a new kind of rhythm. Not one built around calls or checklists, but one grounded in presence, in quietness, in paying attention. Kids still drop off hand-drawn cards every month. Officers still write in the logbooks. And visitors still sit on the bench beside Tag's empty bed, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, always leaving a little lighter, because somehow, even in absence, Tag still shows up. Not all heroes bark, not all guardians wear a badge, and not all healing requires words. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay. Stay when someone's hurting. Stay when the room is heavy. Stay when nothing can be fixed, but everything can still be felt. Tag taught us that, and now we teach it to each other. So if you ever find yourself standing at a door you're not sure you can walk through, if the world feels loud or empty, or too fast to keep up, remember, somewhere, there was a dog who walked until he couldn't walk anymore. Just to lie down by the warmth of a badge and say, I made it. And maybe, if you're reading this, so did you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Heroes for Animals, where we celebrate compassion, loyalty, and the heroes who walk on four legs.